the people. We the people.
Welcome to NorCal Tea Party Patriot Radio.
All across the nation, the party's just begun. Voices speaking loud and clear, there are battles to be won. Gathered here to reunite, join the revolution, 'cause we are strong and standing tall, upholding the Constitution. We the people say.
And now, the host of We the People, NorCal Tea Party Patriots Radio, is Ginny Rapini. Ginny is the coordinator of NorCal Tea Party Patriots and on the national board of the Tea Party Patriots.
Welcome to We the People Radio. NorCal Tea Party Patriots welcomes you today. I'm Ginny Rapini. I may not sound like it, but I am. They can't keep me down. Let me tell you first what the Tea Party stands for. We stand for three core values. Those are fiscal responsibility, constitutionally limited government, and the free markets. We don't get involved in anything else but those because we believe that those will take us everything back to where it belongs. What differentiates us from many of the other Tea Party groups that are out there is we are not connected in any way to any political party, Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, none of them. We stand alone for the Constitution and conservative values. All have lost their way, and we are here to try to pull the entire country back to her founding principles. Our sponsor this month is the Hampton Inn in Truckee, and we want to thank them for sponsoring us. They have a beautiful place up there near Squaw Valley, near the sparkling water of Lake Tahoe. It's a great place to stay. So when you're up in that area, stay at the Hampton Inn in Truckee. Our guest today is Bonnie McAdams, and Bonnie is also involved with the NorCal Tea Party, and she is the committee chair for our Awareness Committee, which is being aware of legislation, mostly in California and the local level, but also nationally. And, you know, she'll come to our meetings and she'll give us information and have us doubled over in stitches with some of these crazy laws they try to pass. And she's going to share some of those today. But the problem is that they wind up not being quite so funny. Welcome, Bonnie. Thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you, Ginny, for having me.
It's our pleasure. All right. I'm going to ask you to fill us in on the attempts of the California legislature to regulate our lives from dawn to dusk. But before that, how does a bill even get introduced? I don't think a lot of us really understand how this all happens.
Well, keeping in mind that I was a working stiff and only retired for the last couple of years when I started to educate myself on this kind of thing, this is what I've learned. A legislator and staff, they submit their ideas in rough language to a legal committee for checking against existing laws. It's then written up and sent to the Senate Rules Committee, who determine what committee it goes to, appropriations or other committees. It's then voted on in that committee, and if it passes, it's then introduced to the Senate floor or on the Senate floor.
And then if it passes the Senate, it goes into the Assembly and they make changes, then the Assembly votes on it and it gets back. Now, we might think that this isn't a big deal, but what does it cost just to introduce a bill?
Well, in my investigation, I've been told that it costs between $10,000 and $40,000 each for each of these bills.
Even if they don't even hit the floor?
Even if they don't hit the floor. So with a legislature that submits somewhere over 2,000 bills a year, the minimum cost is $2 million plus just for this part of the process. And it isn't like everything they submit is worthwhile. Let me give you some examples of stupid is as stupid does laws that are still on the books today. I've got about 6 of them here, and I'll go through them quickly. Number 1, it is a misdemeanor to shoot at any type of game from a moving car unless the target is a whale. Number
really?
2. Oh.
Now, you'd have to be on Pacific Coast Highway.
I would think so. Number 2 is no vehicle without a driver may exceed 60 miles per hour.
That means my dog can't drive.
Your dog cannot drive. Number 3, if you go to Belvedere, California, the city council order reads, No dog shall be in a public place without its master on a leash. You have to get fitted for a collar.
Yeah, right.
Number 4, let's go to Chico, California, where detonating a nuclear device within the city limits results in a $500 fine.
Well, that's not bad.
Yeah, if they can find your parts to charge you. Number 5, Indian Wells, California. Drinking intoxicating cement is illegal. I guess you can drink the regular stuff. Maybe that's hardening of the arteries, Ginny.
Oh, my goodness.
And the last one I have for today is from Norco, California. All persons wishing to keep a rhinoceros as a pet must obtain a $100 license first, and a very strong leash.
I would guess so.
I think these are pretty funny, but most are such an intrusion into how we live our lives that there is no humor on what's been happening lately.
That's for sure. Now, I know you were going to mention to us some of the bills. What about some of your pet ones that you're...
Well, I think one of my pet ones, and all of these bills that I've been looking at, I try and look at as far as financial irresponsibility, because that seems to be the biggest problem that we have in this state. We're just upside down. So when they are passing things like SB 48, which will require us to take all of the social science textbooks out of our classes throughout the state of California and have them redone to match up with this SB 48, the cost of this is footed by only the people of California, the taxpayers here. Normally what happens is California and Texas are the largest textbook orderers. They usually will order the same books, and then the rest of the country follows suit, and then the cost is split throughout. In this case, California is the only one going down this road, and if you really want to know what SB 48 says, you need to look it up like I have had to do, and then you're going to go ahead and you're going to find out what a travesty
Tell us what it is, because I know that every textbook from kindergarten through 12th grade has to be changed to implement SB 48.
Well, it does. And it's requiring the public schools must now include positive lessons on the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender community and their contributions, as well as Native Americans, Asian Pacific Islanders, and people with disabilities. And you can support any one of those groups that you want. This is a free society, but doggone it, the cost to us at a time when we cannot afford it is where I'm going on it.
Absolutely. And the fact that no other state wants any part of these textbooks makes the entire financial burden on us. And this did get passed, and our effort to try to overturn it failed.
Yes.
However, we are trying again.
Yes,
so
we are.
We will not give up. If anything, we will be persistent. Are there, how many bills in California actually passed last year?
Well, I'm told that there were over 700 bills that were passed in 2011, and over 2,000 were put forth.
Wow. And how many were passed again?
Over 700.
And they were all implemented when?
I believe January 1st.
That's right. That's right. And can you give us a summary? Do you have any idea of what some of those were? Wasn't the sheet one?
There's a lot, of course. Assembly Bill 130 is the first half of the California DREAM Act goes into effect, and this will qualify undocumented students attending California's public institutions of higher education for privately funded financial aid, which means they will then be put in front of the kids that are born here, and the cost of this is going to be paid by the taxpayers and the parents of the kids who are not able to go because these kids are in their place. So that's a pretty good one.
And we tried also to have a referendum on that, and it failed. However, we are implementing an initiative for it now that gives us more time to gather the signatures that we need.
Yeah. And that's just a couple.
But it's always terrible to have to play catch up with these things. They're always a step ahead of us.
They are a step ahead of us.
However, yesterday, SB 810.
Oh, 810. Yes, I've got that down here.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Okay, I'll let you do it then.
Okay. Well, first, we do have a plan to expose the legislators to their constituents as far as their voting records go. We think that probably like most of us, and I'm talking about my husband and I and our family and the people that we know, we always went to the polls, we always voted, and then we walked away and went back to our lives and never looked back. And so things have really, when put in the hands of others that are not necessarily telling you the truth when you vote for them end up coming out not to something that you really like. So what we've decided to do is we've put together what we call Project Awareness. This is what where we get together, we gather the voting records, we prepare scorecards, and then we figure out who voted for what and what the financial impact is as far as every family in the state of California. I've been working with Sam Paredes, who's with California Gun Owners, Eric Eisenhammer with California Energy Users, Karen England through the Capital Resource Institute, David Wolf through Howard Jarvis. There's a lot of us that have gotten together and are putting together these scorecards so that we know who's doing what, and we're really keeping them under the magnifying glass. Then you get the information that you gather and you get it down into the various districts that are represented by these folks and get it to the constituents, the people who are voting them in or out. That way people, when they go to the polls, know who they're voting for, what they're voting for, and what the end result is going to be of their vote.
I like one of the things that you were doing earlier, or later last year, where you were actually sending flyers down to the different districts. Why don't you explain that? That was a great program.
Well, we did. We were looking for people who were irresponsible in their voting. And
which you have a pool of them in Sacramento.
Quite a pool, yes. And so we would make up flyers with these folks and then show their voting record and show the ripple effect of the votes that they had. We then were sending them into the different areas, and through the Tea Party organization, actually, they were taking them out. They were handing them out in parking lots and sending them through email and that kind of thing, just so that we can advise people, no matter what you are, what party you are, or how you vote, it doesn't matter, but being educated does.
Well, I think the one thing that was really important is that so many of us don't know what our legislators are, what bills they're introducing, unless they become law.
Yeah, exactly.
And like you said, over 2,000 were introduced last year, but only 710 passed. Oh, my word, 710 more opportunities to regulate my life. But what's so good about that is that it lets people see what page their representative is on.
Exactly.
When they go and start these crazy bills, just like the one you're going to talk about in a little bit, SB 810. So when you have done this, has it been successful? Have the groups been able to then contact their legislators and say, we don't like what you've been doing?
Well, they have, and we were only able to do it with a few folks, a few of the legislators to start with because of the redistricting, and we didn't know who was going to end up where. But with those that we did, it was very successful in that it gave people the information that they needed as far as what those bills were, how their representative voted, what the ripple effect was for them or their families. And so that was good.
There was one down in the Central Valley, I know, that some of the Tea Party groups went and spoke to, and she had been elected on a conservative platform.
That's right.
And she was doing things that weren't conservative.
That's right.
She had voted for tax increases. She had voted for stiffer regulations on small business. And so some of the Tea Party people found out about that, and they went in there and they said, we're going to primary you.
Yes.
And she said, don't threaten me. And they said, no, we're not. It's a promise. And I'll tell you, some of the latest things that she's done have been much more in keeping with her campaign promises.
Yes. Yeah.
We're up against a break right now, but we will be right back right here with Bonnie McAdams and telling us about how our capital's trying to legislate us. We'll be right back with KTKZ 1380, We the People Radio.